The 39th session of the Senate in the third regular session of the 16th Congress is hereby called to order. Can we request our colleagues to rise for a minute of silent prayer? Thank you. With the permission of the chamber, we declare 1 minute recess to allow our other colleagues to come to the hall. 1 minute suspension. Oh, ito na.
Mas masipag po ata yung manood. Don't forget the
Session is resumed. The Secretary will call the roll.
Roll call of members. Honorable Senators Angara, Aquino, Binay, Cayetano Alan, Peter Compañero S, Cayetano P.I.S., Defensor Santiago, Ejercito, Enrile, Escudero, Estrada, Gingona, Unasan, Lapid, Legarda, Marcos, Usmeña, Pimentel, Po, Recto, Revilla, Soto, Trillanes, Villar. Senate President Rilon.
13 senators are present. The chair declares the presence of a quorum. The Majority Leader.
Mr. President, I move that we defer the reading and approval of the journal of the 38th session, November 23, 24, and 25, 2015, as these are still being finalized.
Any objection? Hearing none. Reading and approval of the journal of the previous sessions is hereby deferred.
Mr. President, I move that we proceed with the reference of business.
Secretary will read the reference of business.
Bills on first reading. Senate number 3010, entitled An Act Directing the Department of Health to prepare and publish annually a consumer guide to prescription drug prices by Defensor Santiago.
Health and Demography, Trade, Commerce, and Entrepreneurship and Finance.
Senate number 3011, an act providing for a Bill of Rights for air passengers, penalizing violations thereof, and for the purposes Senator Recto.
Public Services and Finance.
Resolutions, PSR number 1669, expressing the sense of the Senate to declare November 25 of every year as the National Day for Youth in Climate Action, Senator Legarda.
Committee on Rules.
PSR number 1670, recognizing and commending Hagen Alexander Topacio for winning the country's first ever silver medal at the 13th Asian Shooting Championship held in Kuwait City, Kuwait last November 9, 2015, and setting a new national record in trap shooting, Senator Sani Angara.
Committee on Rules.
Additional reference of business, message of the President of the Philippines, letter of His Excellency President Benigno Aquino III, dated 12 November 2015, submitting for the Senate's consideration and concurrence the Doha Amendment to the Kyoto Protocol, which was signed on 8 December 2012 in Doha, Qatar.
Committee on Foreign Relations.
Bills on first reading, Senate number 3012, an act amending Republic Act number 7877, also known as the Anti-Sexual Harassment Act of 1995, Section 3, on the definition of work, education, or training-related sexual harassment by Senator Defensor Santiago.
Committee on Labor, Employment, Human Resource Development, Civil Service, Government Reorganization, and Professional Regulation.
Senate number 3013, an act to facilitate the development, demonstration, and implementation of technology for use in removing greenhouse gases from the atmosphere and creating a greenhouse gas emission atmospheric removal committee, Senator Defensor Santiago.
Climate Change, Energy, and Finance.
Senate number 3014, an act increasing the penalty for planting evidence, amending for the purpose Republic Act number 10591, otherwise known as the Comprehensive Firearms and Ammunition Regulations Act, Senator Defensor Santiago.
Committee is on Justice and Human Rights, Public Order, and Dangerous Drugs.
Communications, letters from the Office of the President of the Philippines, transmitting to the Senate 2 regional copies of the following. Republic Act number 10694, entitled an act creating 2 additional municipal trial courts in cities for Angeles City, 1 municipal trial court for Magalang, and 1 municipal trial court in cities for the city of Mabalacat, all situated in the province of Pampanga in the 3rd Judicial Region, thus amending for the purpose Batas Pambansa Bilang 129, otherwise known as the Judiciary Reorganization Act of 1980 is amended and appropriating funds therefore. Republic Act number 10695, an act creating a branch of the Regional Trial Court to be stationed in the city of San Jose del Monte, situated in the province of Bulacan, in the 3rd Judicial Region, further amending for the purpose Section 14, Paragraph C of Batas Pambansa Bilang 129, otherwise known as the Judiciary Reorganization Act of 1980 as amended, and appropriating funds therefore. Republic Act number 10696, an act creating 2 additional branches of the Municipal Trial Court in cities and 2 additional branches of the Regional Trial Court to be stationed in the city of Baguio in the 1st Judicial Region, further amending for the purpose Batas Pambansa Bilang 129. Republic Act number 10697, an act preventing the proliferation of weapons of mass destruction by managing the trade in strategic goods, the provision of related services, and for other purposes. Republic Act number 10698, an act to regulate and modernize the practice of naval architecture in the Philippines. Republic Act number 10699, an act expanding the coverage of incentives granted to national athletes and coaches. appropriating funds, therefore repealing for the purpose Republic Act Number 9064, also known as the National Athletes, Coaches, and Trainers Benefits and Incentives Act of 2001, or Sports Benefits and Incentives Act of 2001, Republic Act Number 10700, an act creating an additional branch of the Regional Trial Court to be stationed in San Jose City, situated in the province of Nueva Ecija, in the 3rd Judicial Region, further amending for the purpose Section 14, Paragraph C of Batas Pambansa bilang 129. Republic Act Number 10701, an act creating an additional branch of the Regional Trial Court to be stationed at Initaw, situated in the province of Misamis Oriental, in the 10th Judicial Region, further amending for the purpose Section 14, Paragraph K of Batas Pambansa bilang 129. Republic Act Number 10702, an act creating an additional branch of the Regional Trial Court to be stationed in the city of Maykawayan, situated in the province of Bulacan, in the 3rd Judicial Region, amending for the purpose Section 14, Paragraph C of Batas Pambansa bilang 129. Republic Act Number 10703, an act creating an additional branch of the Regional Trial Court to be stationed in the city of Gihulngan, situated in the province of Negros Oriental, in the 7th Judicial Region, amending for the purpose Section 14, Paragraph H of Batas Pambansa bilang 129. Republic Act Number 10704, an act creating 19 additional branches of the Regional Trial Court in the National Capital Judicial Region to be stationed in Quezon City, Metro Manila, further amending for the purpose Section 14, Paragraph D of Batas Pambansa bilang 129, and appropriating funds therefore. And Republic Act Number 10705, an act converting the existing 5th Municipal Circuit Trial Court of Carmona, General Mariano Alvarez, into a municipal trial court with a seat at the municipality of Carmona, and creating a separate municipal trial court for the municipality of General Mariano Alvarez, all situated in the province of Cavite, in the 4th Judicial Region, amending for the purpose Batas Pambansa bilang 129, otherwise known as the Judiciary Reorganization Act of 1980 amended, and appropriating funds therefore, which were signed by His Excellency President Benigno Aquino III.
To the archives.
Letter from the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas transmitting to Senate copies of the following certified and authenticated BSP issuances in compliance with Section 15A of Republic Act Number 7653, the New Central Bank Act, Circular Numbers 889 and 890, dated 2 November 2015.
Committee on Banks, Financial Institutions, and Currencies.
Committee reports. Committee report number 295, submitted by the Committee on Public Services on House number 6012, introduced by Representative Robes et al., entitled an act extending for another 25 years the franchise granted to Bell Telecommunication Philippines Inc., amending for the purpose Republic Act number 7692, entitled an act granting to Bell Telecommunication Philippines Inc. a franchise to install, operate, and maintain telecommunication systems throughout the Philippines, and for the purposes recommending its approval with amendment. Sponsor Santos Mena III.
Calendar for ordinary business.
Committee report number 296, submitted by the Committee on Public Services on House number 4507, introduced by Representative Biolago et al., entitled an act renewing the franchise of Comtel Communications Incorporated, assignee of the grantee under Republic Act number 3932, as amended by Republic Act number 7401, entitled an act granting the Concepcion Industries Incorporated a franchise to construct, maintain, and operate radio telephone stations for the transmission and reception of radio communications within the Philippines for another 25 years from the effectivity of this act, recommending its approval with amendments. Sponsor Santos Mena III.
Calendar for ordinary business.
Committee report number 297, submitted by the Committee on Public Services on House number 5592, introduced by Representatives Cruz Gonzalez and Teodoro, entitled an act renewing the franchise granted to Far East Broadcasting Company Philippines Inc. under Republic Act number 8115, entitled an act granting the Far East Broadcasting Company Philippines Inc. a franchise to construct, maintain, and operate non-commercial radio broadcasting stations in the Philippines, recommending its approval with amendments. Sponsor Santos Mena III.
Calendar for ordinary business.
Committee report number 298, submitted by the Committee on Public Services on House number 5982, introduced by Representative De Venecia et al., entitled an act renewing for another 25 years and expanding to radio/television broadcasting national in scope throughout the Philippines, the franchise granted to Mabuhay Broadcasting System Inc. under Republic Act number 7395, entitled an act granting to Mabuhay Broadcasting System Inc. a franchise to construct, install, operate, and maintain radio broadcasting stations in the island of Luzon, and for other purposes recommending its approval with amendment. Sponsor, Senator Osmeña III.
Calendar for ordinary business.
Committee report number 299 submitted by the Committee on Public Services on House number 5940, introduced by Representative Tupas et al., entitled Anak, renewing for another 25 years the franchise granted to Progressive Broadcasting Corporation under Republic Act number 7163 as amended by Republic Act number 8162, recommending its approval with amendments. Sponsor, Senator Osmeña III.
Calendar for ordinary business.
Committee report number 300 submitted by the Committee on Public Services on House number 5154, introduced by Representative Robes et al., entitled Anak, granting the People Broadband and Telecommunications Corporation a franchise to construct, install, establish, operate, and maintain telecommunication systems throughout the Philippines, recommending its approval without amendment. Sponsor, Senator Osmeña III.
Calendar for ordinary business.
Committee report number 301 submitted by the Committee on Public Services on House number 5582, introduced by Representative Reyes et al., entitled Act, renewing the franchise granted to Radio Veritas Global Broadcasting System Incorporated to construct, install, operate, and maintain for religious, educational, cultural, and commercial purposes radio and television broadcasting stations in the Philippines, and for other purposes under Republic Act numbered 7579 to another 25 years, recommending its approval with amendment. Sponsor, Senator Osmeña III.
Calendar for ordinary business. The Majority Leader.
Mr. President, with the consent of the Senate, I move that we recognize Senator J.V. Ejercito to speak on a matter of public interest.
Senator Ejercito is recognized on a question of personal privilege.
Mr. President, I'd like to manifest that our colleague, Senator Miriam Defensor Santiago, has requested me to read her privilege speech, if I may be allowed to, Mr. President.
With the consent of the Chamber, the Senator Ejercito may proceed.
Good afternoon, Mr. President. Next year, the Aquino administration proposes a 3 trillion budget, 447 billion higher than the 2015 budget, or an increase of 17.4%. That is quite ambitious for 3 reasons. First is the epic underspending record that it has displayed in the last 5 years. What has the Aquino government done lately to convince us that there has been a dramatic change in its competency? Second, there is an election ban before and after the presidential elections that would surely slow down spending for public infrastructure. Third, a new administration will come to power on 1st of July 2016. Historically, public spending would tend to be lower during the first 4 quarters of a new administration. The Aquino administration for the last 5 years has been known for missing its spending targets. In 2011, it asked Congress for a budget of 1.711 trillion. It managed to spend only 1.557 trillion, or an underspending of 154 billion. In 2012, it asked Congress for a budget of 1.854 trillion. It managed to spend only 1.778 trillion, or an underspending of 76 billion. In 2013, it asked Congress for a budget of 2.021 trillion. It managed to spend only 1.88 trillion, or an underspending of 141 billion. In 2014, it asked Congress for a budget of 2.281 trillion. It managed to spend only 1.982 trillion, or an underspending of 299 billion. That is a total underspending of 670 billion in just 4 years. This year is not any better. Planned spending from January to July 2015 was 1.47 trillion, but actual spending was 1.28 trillion, for a colossal underspending of 190 billion in just 7 months. It is not as if the Aquino administration is meeting its promised outputs and outcomes at less cost. It is simply failing in meeting its promises to the Filipino people. The Philippines suffers in comparison with its ASEAN 5 neighbors in terms of public infrastructure. It has the worst roads, airports, seaports, most expensive and unreliable power supply, and the slowest and most expensive internet connection among its neighbors. It has the worst unemployment rates, and it is the poorest in terms of per capita GDP and proportion of poor people below the poverty line. So why does it continue to underspend? A. Sheer incompetence. B. Deliberatively bloating the budget request so it can play around with the artificial savings. C. Poor budget planning by including in the budget projects that are not implementation ready. Or D. All of the above. Last year at around this time, I delivered a privileged speech warning about excesses in pork barrel spending and abuses in the utilization of lump sum appropriations and unprogrammed expenditures. I rise again to repeat the same warning on the 2016 budget, only the portents are more grave and the threats to our financial stability more serious. Aside from underspending, what are the budget-related challenges which confront us in 2016? The most serious challenge of all is the problem of poverty, which continues to rise in spite of our vaunted economic growth. NEDA Secretary Arsenio Balisacan has reported that among ASEAN countries, Indonesia, Thailand, Malaysia, Vietnam, and the Philippines, only our country's poverty levels continue to rise, while those of other countries have gone down. Unemployment and underemployment remain inordinately high. Social Weather Station reports that 27.6% of those without jobs are women. Furthermore, 50.2% of the jobless are within the ages of 18 to 24 years. We are not taking care of our young job seekers. We also face the threats of and consequences of accelerated climate change. There will be more storms, typhoons, earthquakes, and floods. We cannot reverse the onslaught of natural disasters. We can only prepare for them. Still, another challenge is the 2016 election. There is no doubt at all that the 2015 and 2016 budgets are prone to electoral politics. Decisions about fund transfers in the guise of savings are not necessarily for public purposes but for election-related objectives. However, the most dangerous threat is the continued presence of PDAF-like allocations and the provision for lump sum appropriations in the General Appropriations Bill or GAB for 2016. This is open defiance of the Constitution and 3 recent decisions of the Supreme Court on PDAF and DAP. The entire 2016 President's budget is littered with lump sum appropriations, some nationwide, some region-wide. Especially lethal are those that would be released upon submission by the agency concerned to the DBM of special budgets, detail the actual project, activity, or program, and actual amount to be expended, the rationale and purposes approved by the President. Every time a lump sum appropriation exists, it potentially means that the regional budget approved by Congress, the General Appropriations Act, is illegally superseded and replaced by a mechanism created by one department or agency. This budget within the budget is a pseudo-appropriations made without congressional imprimatur. It extends to the heads of the departments and agencies a power they do not have. By usurping the congressional power of the purse, it violates the principle of separation of powers. During the last 5 budgets, Congress has dutifully approved the President's budget. What the President wants, the President gets. We have forgotten that the Filipino people has vested unto us the power of the purse, the power to determine how their taxes should be allocated. It took the Supreme Court in its unanimous decision on the Disbursement Acceleration Program to remind us that we have a covenant with the Filipino people. Mr. President, we must use the 2016 budget to deal with these threats and challenges. We do not have to be subservient to the Executive Department. We have our own mandate and our own responsibility. I propose the following. Number 1, realign contestable budget items and lump sums totaling 166.3 billion to alternative expenditures for social development. Letter A, review of the budgets of government agencies identified 558.2 billion in budget items which are contestable. Letter B, examination of lump sum appropriations yielded 108.1 billion in contestable allocations. Letter C, These contestable allocations will exhibit the characteristics of PDAF can be realigned to various social development expenditures as proposed by civil society organizations and people's organizations in the amount of 154.4 billion. Mr. President, by taking this bold step, we aligned items of expenditures which are PDAF-like. Thus, we protect the Constitution, respect the Supreme Court decisions. At the same time, we respond to actual needs articulated by our own people which they have presented in their alternative proposals. Number 2, disapprove some objectionable special provisions that authorize heads of agencies in the executive branch the authority to modify and realign the programs, activities, and projects as authorized by Congress through the General Appropriations Act. The General Appropriations Bill contains some special provisions that unconstitutionally and unlawfully authorize the respective heads of agencies in the executive branch, not even the President as head of the executive branch, to modify and realign the program, projects, or activities after the same has been authorized by Congress through its enactment of the General Appropriations Act. But realignment, reprioritization, and reallocation are species of transfer of augmentation prohibited under the Constitution. Article 6, Section 25. Under Section 25, only the specific officers mentioned are authorized by law to augment any item in the budget for the respective offices from savings in other items of their respective appropriations. Number 3, totally reject the redefinition of savings, which exacerbates the constitutional provisions of the 2015 GAA and willfully ignores the 3 decisions of the Supreme Court on PDAF and DAP. Mr. President, we all know that in 2014, the Supreme Court declared PDAF and DAP as unconstitutional. However, PDAF-like items are still embedded in the 2016 General Appropriations Bill. This is made justifiable by the redefinition of savings in the provisions of the bill. The definition of savings, Sections 65 and 66 of the General Provisions, skirts the Supreme Court ruling, Araujo v. Aquino, GR number 209287, 1st of July 2014 against the DAP. The High Court ruled that savings can be declared only when there are still funds available after the final discontinuance or abandonment of the project, activity, or program. I therefore propose that the definition of savings as reflected in the 2014 JA and as expounded by the Supreme Court be incorporated in the 2016 JA in lieu of the present definition in the 2016 GAP. Prior to 2014, past administrations have lived under such definition of savings. The 2015 and 2016 formulations of savings were to circumvent the Supreme Court decisions on that. Congress should not be a party in this attempt to defy the High Court. Balances of appropriations arising from unused compensation and belated costs cannot and should not be considered savings because it might create perverse fiscal behavior. The agency head may choose not to hire personnel like teachers, policemen, judges, etc. when public interest required that they should, presumably, so they can create savings within his or her agency. It may also create incentives for the budget secretary to overestimate the personnel requirements so he can generate savings that later can be used to augment other items in the budget. It should be noted that the proposed 2016 requests a huge 92.258 billion for the lump sum miscellaneous personnel benefits fund. It would be good budget practice not to treat balances of appropriation from lump sum funds, that is miscellaneous personnel benefits fund, the National Disaster and Risk Reduction and Management Fund of about 38.896 billion, the Pension and Gratuity Fund of 100, which is about 113.977 billion as savings. Mr. President, we are facing difficult challenges. If we allow the trend of PDAF and DAP abuse to continue, we will be neglecting our duty to respond to the articulated needs of our people. We will be abandoning our oath to defend the Constitution. Number 4, delete Section 68 of the GAB or House Bill number 6132. Augmentation from savings, a appropriately defined is allowed in the Constitution under very restrictive conditions. Realignment is not contemplated in the Constitution. It violates the Supreme Court decision on the DAP. Limit rather than expand the scope of the power to augment. If there are new projects that need to be funded, there is always the budget for the next fiscal year. And if it is necessary, like in the Mount Pinatubo eruption or other serious calamities, the President has the option to submit a supplemental budget. Let us all join hands in making the 2016 budget an inclusive instrument for serving our people and for upholding the Constitution. That's all, Mr. President. Thank you.
Majority Leader.
Mr. President, no senators wish to interpolate, so I move that we refer the speech of Senator Ejercito to the Committee on Finance.
The speech of Senator Miriam Defensor Santiago, as read by Senator Ejercito, is referred to the Committee on Finance.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I move that we consider House Bill number 6132 under Committee Report number 294. This is the General Appropriations Bill, Mr. President.
Before we act on the motion, is the report of the Committee on Finance ready, including the including the amendments? If it's not yet ready,
In that case, Mr. President, I move to suspend our session.
session is suspended. Ano ba siya, Luke? Ano siya, Luke?
service ano ng election natin. Sir, Ramba, at times still na hindi. Tama na oras tayo. Ang sabi ko.
Session is resumed.
Mr. President, just some administrative matters.
Please proceed, Mr. Majority Leader.
Firstly, we'd like to manifest and designate the members of the Senate's Bicameral Conference Committee on Senate Bill number 2262. This is the an act amending Republic Act number 9367, otherwise known as the Biofuels Act of 2006, under Committee Report number 102. The members are Senator Osmeñas, the chairman, Senator Aquino, and Senator Villar from the majority, and Senator Honasan from the minority, Mr. President.
So constituted.
Biofuels Act.
1 minute suspension, Mr. President.
Suspend. Gagawin natin.
Ready to resume, Mr. President.
Resume.
Mr. President, another administrative matter. I have the honor to submit a copy of the Conference Committee report with a joint explanation on the disagreeing provisions on Senate Bill number 2909, entitled An Act Providing for the Creation and Organization of Credit Surety Fund Cooperatives to Manage and Administer Credit Surety Funds to enhance the accessibility of micro, small, and medium entrepreneurs, cooperatives, and non-government organizations to the credit facility of banks and for other purposes, and House Bill number 6007, entitled An Act Providing for the Creation and Organization of Credit Surety Fund Cooperatives to Manage and Administer Credit Surety Funds to enhance the accessibility of micro, small, and medium entrepreneurs, cooperatives, and non-government organizations to the credit facility of banks and for other purposes, as my sponsorship speech, and consider this read in toto into the records, Mr. President.
1 minute suspension.
Ready to resume, Mr. President, once you're ready as well.
Session is resumed.
There was a pending motion, Mr. President.
The pending motion is that the joint explanation be considered read into the record.
Yes, Mr. President.
Is there any objection? Hearing none, approved.
May I have another suspension, Mr. President?
1 minute suspension.
Ready to resume, Mr. President.
Session is resumed.
Mr. President, just to be clear, we move to adopt the Conference Committee report and joint explanation on the disagreeing provisions of Senate Bill number 2909 and House Bill number 6007.
1 minute suspension. Session is resumed. Yes.
Yes, there's a current motion to adopt.
Any objection? The joint explanation of the conference committees of, on the disagreeing provision of Senate Bill 2909 and House Bill 6007 is hereby adopted.
Thank you, Mr. President. Another suspension, please.
Suspended. Lauren. Ano, yan na. Edwin, kung abot na ng 12, declare ka ng, ha? Dito ka. Si Alan sa kung dalawang detail. Yes, Luna? The session is resumed. Majority Leader?
Mr. President, I move that we consider House Bill number 6132 under Committee Report number 294. This is the General Appropriations Bill, Mr. President.
Any objection? Hearing on consideration of House Bill 6132 is in order.
Mr. President, in view of the fact that the period of interpellations on the measure had already been terminated yesterday, November 25, 2015, I now move that we open the period of committee amendments.
Period for committee amendments is in order.
I move to recognize the Chairman of the Committee on Finance, Mr. President, Senator Lauren Legarda.
Senator,
Mr. President, can I ask for a 1-minute suspension?
1 minute suspension. So, Edwin, there are only 21.
Ito. Ito ba yun?
Ready to resume, Mr. President.
Session is resumed.
Mr. President, I move that we recognize the chairman of the Committee on Finance, Senator Legarda.
Senator Legarda is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. It is my honor to submit to the body the following amendments to the committee report under House Bill 6132, both taking into consideration the committee and the individual amendments. Ang liit naman ang numbers. Pangit ako nakasalit. For the Congress of the Philippines, the GAB had 13,276,266, and it is now 542,666 for a net change of 266,400. I move for the approval of this amendment, Mr. President.
Can we just approve it
Okay, thank you, sir.
After putting on the record all the amendments?
Yes. For the Office of the President, the GAB had 2,825,998,000, and the Senate version has 2,759,895,000 for a decrease of 66,103,000. Office of the Vice President, 230,512,000 with an addition of 500 million and a net change of 269,488,000. The Department of Agrarian Reform, 10 billion from the GAB, 132,358,000. The Senate version has 9,632,358,000 for a decrease of 500 million. The Department of Agriculture, 47,882,676, and the Senate version is 48,577,476 for a net change of 694,800,000. For the Department of Education, 411,482,789,000 in the GAB. The Senate version is 411,896,257 for an increase of 413,468,000.
Kaling tahimik. Ang ingay eh.
Tayo. For the University of the Philippines, 11,305,422,000. The Senate version is 969,883 for an increase of 664,461,000. For state universities and colleges, the GAB is 33,365,215,000. The Senate version, 37,635,809 for an increase of 270,594. The Department of Environment and Natural Resources, the GAB is 22,843,120,000. and the Senate version is 20,086,563,000 for a decrease of 2,756,557,000. The Department of Finance, GAB, is 18,722,524,000. Senate version is 19,265,612,000. Net change is 543,088,000. The Department of Foreign Affairs, 20,610,618,000. And the Senate version is 20,703,832,000 for a net change increase of 93,214,000. The Department of Health, 124,271,437,000. Senate version, 124,767,985 for an increase of 496,548,000. The Department of Interior and Local Government, GAB, is 123,638,266,000. Senate version is 124,266,290,000 for a net change increase of 628,024,000. Department of Justice, the GAB is 12,876,275,000. Senate version is 12,972,590 for an increase of 96,315,000. Department of Labor and Employment, 18,147,211,000. Senate version is 18,013,820,000 for a net change decrease of 133,391,000. Department of National Defense, 115,854,316. Senate version is 126,641,116 for a net change increase of 10 billion 786,800,000. Department of Public Works, 378,345,417,000. Senate version, 382,419,699,000 for a net change of 4,074,282,000. Department of Science and Technology, 17,949,275,000. Senate version is 19,151,610,000 for a net change of 1,202,335,000. Department of Social Welfare and Development, 109,006,021,000. Senate version is 107,225,131,000 for a net change decrease of 1,780,890,000. Department of Tourism, 3,607,244,000. Senate version, 3,629,744,000. Increase of 22,500,000. Department of Trade and Industry, 3,959,316,000. Senate version is 4,692,912,000 $100,000 for a net change increase of $733,596,000. Department of Transport and Communications, $43,453,486,000. Senate version is $42,680,486,000 for a net change decrease of $773 million. National Economic Development Authority, $6,837,609. Senate version, $6,199,175 for a decrease of $638,434. Other executive offices, $14,925,212,000, and the Senate version is $14,268,449 for a net change decrease of $656,763. The judiciary, $25 billion in GAB, $891,561,000. Senate version, $26,024,684,000 for an increase of $133,123,000. The Office of the Ombudsman, $1,726,527,000. Senate version, $2,106,880,000 for a net change increase of $380,353,000. The Commission on Human Rights, $408,171,000 in the GAB. Senate version is $489,671,000 for an increase of $81,500,000. The budgetary support to government corporations, GAB, $113,351,471,000. Senate version is $95,614,620,000 for a net change decrease of $17,736,851. Other executive offices, the GAB is $76,172,951,000. Senate version is $76,165,451 for a net change decrease of $7,500,000. Allocation to local governments, $57,100,786,000. Senate version is $57,291,886 for an increase of $191,100,000. Contingent fund is $4 billion. Senate version $3 billion, decrease $1 billion. Miscellaneous personal benefit fund $92,257,963 to $96,261,997, a net change of $4,004,034. Pension and gratuity fund $113,977,055,000 to $109,973,021,000 for a decrease of $4,004,034,000. Unprogrammed fund $67,500,000. Senate version $47,500,000 for a net decrease of $20 billion. The budgets of DOE attached corporations, $27 million to billion, $441,028,000. Senate version is $27,451,028,000 for a net change of $10 million. What is this? I will read this whole letter.
Amendment, additional amendment.
Which is this? There's an additional amendment from Senator Gingona, Vice Chair, from MSU Tawi-Tawi of 200 million transferred to Philippine Normal University capital outlay to 197.5 million, and MSU capital outlay for 2.5 million pesos. Yes, this will not affect the total, Mr. President. That is the total, Mr. President, the hard work of your committee, and the special provisions. Marami. Lahat po, babasahin ko. Okay. There is an additional amendment to the special provision. Ano to? An existing? Existing general provision. An amendment to an existing general provision. May I read into the record an amendment to the existing general provision on section 62. Lump sum appropriation is being amended by Senator Chis Escudero, requiring that released documents of lump sum appropriations should be furnished to the Commission on Audit.
All right. Is
there are more amendments.
I'm sorry.
Yes. Amendment on the authorized deduction. I can't understand this.
These are special provisions.
These are special provisions, general provisions. Amendment on the authorized deduction. Will be at 3,000 instead of 5,000 as embodied in the general appropriations bill. There's general or special? There's another special provision by Senator Anasan on school-based feeding program. In the implementation of the school-based feeding program, all public schools shall procure the ingredients for the SBFP from the following sources. A, the school's vegetable garden established under the Gulayan sa Paaralan program. B, home and communal gardens established by the families of SBFF beneficiaries. And C, local farmers identified by the DSWD under the National Housing Targeting System for Poverty Reduction to be living in poverty. And may I just read a new provision to read as follows. Cost allocation for road sharing activities. The amount appropriated herein for the transport and traffic management services shall also be used for road sharing activities such as the promotion of non-motorized transport, construction of pedestrian-friendly facilities, and the conduct of programs and projects that are geared towards improving people mobility. From where? Hanggang dito sa dulo. The Senate President has an amended provision, may I read it, on the express lane charges. Fees and charges collected by the Bureau of Immigration from express lane charges shall be deposited with the National Treasury, of which 10% shall be recorded as income of the General Fund in accordance with Section 44, Chapter 5, Book 6 of EO number 292, and the balance of 90% as trust receipts. The trust fund shall be used as follows. 33% of the total amount collected for the payment of salaries of casual and contractual personnel, confidential agents, and job order employees. 55% of the total amount collected for the augmentation of salaries of BI personnel who render services beyond office hours, and 2% of the total amount collected for the payment of health insurance premium of BI personnel, provided that the Commissioner on Immigration shall ensure that the augmentation of the salaries of BI personnel rendering services beyond office hours are fair and equitable, such that employees with the same salary grade, functions, duties, and responsibilities are given equal pay. The BI shall submit to the DBM, the House Committee on Appropriations, and the Senate Committee on Finance, either in printed form or by the way of electronic document, quarterly reports on the collection and disbursement of said income. The Commissioner of BI and the Bureau's web administrator or his or her equivalent shall be responsible for ensuring that said quarterly reports are likewise posted on the BI website. Failure to comply with the above requirements shall render any disbursement from said trust receipts void and shall subject the erring officials and employees to disciplinary actions pursuant to Section 43, Chapter 5, Section 80, Chapter 6, Book 6 of EO 292, the appropriate criminal action under existing penal laws. Ito lang kailan?
Kasi ma'am, ano ko, hindi na namin magawa kanina eh.
Yeah.
Subject to style, ito lang. Yung amendment ni Senator
Mm.
sa PNP, you carry that special.
On the PNP. There is a amendment of the minority leader on the PNP, subject to style. I will just read a portion that will be amended, subject to a special provision to be used for financial assistance to the survivors and families of the 44 slain Special Action Force commandos. This will cover the increase that we've provided for the PNP. Yes, I have here, if I may, special provisions from Senator Escudero. It's quite lengthy. It is accepted by the committee. Can it just be spread into the record? That is all.
Can you withdraw? Ganun ba ko? Bakit? Lahat ng kanya amendment. Lahat. Individual. Okay.
And just 1 minute.
1 minute suspension.
What? Suspended for 1 minute.
Ready to resume, Mr. President?
Session is resumed.
Yes. This letter just in, and I conferred with Senator Pimentel. I'll read the letter. Dear Senator Legarda, greetings. Specific instructions of Senator Aquilino Coco Pimentel. The third, we are respectfully withdrawing all his individual amendments to House Bill 6132, otherwise known as the 2016 General Appropriations Bill, the GAB, submitted to your office. Sincerely yours, Attorney Lutgardo Barbo, Chief of Staff. I conferred with Senator Pimentel that indeed what he had submitted and has been inputted in a total is being withdrawn, and therefore there will be changes only in the computations.
Okay.
That being
Yes.
said, Mr. President.
Senator Pimentel wishes to be recognized.
Parliamentary inquiry, Mr. President. What has just been manifested? Was that a motion?
No, it was the manifestation is that the letter, the contents of the letter has been inputted in the committee report.
Not referring to my letter, but the long report, the report on the figures. Was that a motion to approve the committee
There is now a
amendments?
motion to approve.
So, is it proper to interpolate or not?
Well, maybe, well, of course it is your
Because
privilege to interpolate, but the chair would like to appeal that,
But-
you know, if there are matters that you wish to be clarified. If
No,
we
what is the
can-
proper procedure? It's a vote already on the motion?
That's correct,
yes or
sir.
no?
That's correct, yes.
But just for the information of the sponsor, I just find this strange that the insurance commission was given a budget of 7,000. Is this figure correct? On
No,
page
no, no.
on page 4? Insurance commission 7. So the figures are in thousand, so it's 7,000.
Page?
Page 4, sir.
1 minute suspension so that we can have the accurate figure, Mr.
1 minute
President.
suspension.
Insurance commission. 7,000 pesos lang.
Wala tayong magkano dyan.
Galing sa gabi yun. Because they are allowed to use fiscal autonomy.
Ano ba ito? Huh? 7, no. What is that, the House version?
Yes, ready to resume. Okay. Ready to resume, Mr. President. Ito yon, insurance fund.
Session is resumed.
May I read the special provision in the insurance fund? In addition to the amounts appropriated herein, 75,559,000 shall be used to cover the MOE capital outlay requirements of the Insurance Commission, sourced from the proceeds of premium taxes constituted into the insurance fund in accordance with Section 286 of RA 8424, etc. It's a long. So what I'm saying is that we sustained the GAB because they're able to use their own income.
Yes, so the answer it is not a mistake. Yeah? The 7
It is
here.
not.
Yes.
It is
Okay.
not a mistake.
That is the question, Mr.
Yes,
President.
it is not a mistake.
Yes.
It is not a mistake.
So the procedure now is we're going to vote on the motion.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. President.
All right. Is there any objection? Yes, Senator Recto.
Mr. President, I do not want to delay the proceedings, Mr. President, and allow me to congratulate the chairman of the committee for the report given by the committee, and I know it's a difficult job, especially trying to consolidate all the individual amendments of all the individual members. But just a few clarifications, maybe 2 or 3 items only. In a nutshell, 99% of what the committee did, I am in agreement. I know it's a difficult job, but I just have 2 or 3 queries, very simple, Mr. President. The first is I noticed that the budget of the DSWD, just to put on the record, it's not that I'm objecting. The budget of the DSWD was reduced by 7 billion, 7.6 billion, and I am told that it came from the 4Bs. I just want to make sure that that this is accurate, Mr. President.
Did you say 7 billion?
Yes.
No.
No, from the Senate version, because we're looking at the figures here, GAB
Yes.
to the second, third reading.
Can the sponsor respond to the query of Senator Recto? Referring to the Department of Social Welfare and Development.
Because there should be 3. GAB,
There's 3, yes.
Senate version, and then what we're discussing
Did
right
that
now.
change?
Yes. Dapat yan tatlo eh.
Dapat. The copy that the Senate President has would indicate that the gap for DSWD is 109 billion 6 million 21,000.
Yes, Mr. President.
The committee report of the Senate is 107 billion
225 million.
131,000 for a net reduction of 1,780,890,000.
That is correct, Mr. President.
So that's the net change, is a reduction.
If you compare it to the GAB, yes, I understand that, and that's correct.
That's correct, yes.
Yes. I am comparing 2 documents. I am comparing the GAB, the Senate Committee report, original Senate Committee report, and then the second reading version. Okay? Now, my figures say that the GAB is correct. It's 109 billion. I'm just rounding that off. The Senate Committee report was 114, Today we're discussing 107. I know it's a difficult job. I just wanted to clarify, and I will not prolong the issue.
Yes.
Just galing ba to sa 4-piece? That's the only question I have.
What? I'm sorry. That.
Did it come from the 4-piece? Because I may have an amendment that will satisfy anyway the committee in its desire to achieve the same thing, just in case.
Yes, Mr. President. In fact, this amendment came from the minority leader. I have the piece of paper here that will go to the Philippine Air Force.
Yes, I understand.
Yeah,
and
which
I'm
we
not
accepted
objecting.
on the
I'm not
floor.
objecting with regard to the Philippine Air Force also. Second question, and then maybe we can look for a solution anyway.
And you can bring it up in the BICAM.
Yes, yes. I will take instructions from the Senate President.
Please.
Okay. The second is, yesterday we had a debate here on the floor with regard to utilizing certain funds from Land Bank and DBP and the possibility of using this for one, capital outlays for SUCs, and I think that's found here. And again, I
Yes.
thank the sponsor, the chairman of the committee. I think she's done an excellent job there. And we recommended as well to be taken from the land bank for the tuition fee of 1 million students. To me, the choice was very simple. Would I give 10 billion to DBP and the land bank, or to 1 million students? I think the choice was very simple as far as I'm concerned. And by giving it to scholarships, there will be no underspending. Magagastos yan. Clearly. It would appear to me that the amendments, I don't see the amendments in whether through CHED or the SUC, but I also see that the budget in the land bank and the DPP has been withdrawn.
Yes. Will the
clarification.
principal sponsor would like to comment on that?
Yes, Mr. President. We actually agree with the good sponsor, and we appreciate his concern for the SUCs, which we sustained when it came to the scholarship. And I discussed this with the Senate President as well, which I wanted to accept. It was very difficult to balance the budget because we had to leave some with the other agencies. And the recommendation of the Senate President was to push forward an important policy legislation on free tertiary education, and we will fund that in whole once it is passed, and we will support that.
Yes, I understand. Third, final point, but that money went elsewhere. Third, final point, not to make it difficult for anyone, I notice that there is still available, and this can be discussed if that is the pleasure of the body, because we still have under unprogrammed 20 billion that we are not spending.
I'm sorry?
There is still 20 billion available in this bill authorizing the president to spend. 20 billion available pa na pwedeng gastusin pa.
Where
in
is
this
that
budget.
coming from?
This is on page 9. It says unprogrammed fund. There is from 67, it was reduced to 47.5. In the Senate committee report, I reduced 30 billion from the unprogrammed, which is the risk management fund, which I think is also not needed. There was a restoration somehow of 10 billion, but the point is, if you want to restore this amount, there is still 20 billion available that we can spend under the unprogrammed.
Well, Senator Rector, the
Yes.
view of the chair
Yes.
is that we cannot really spend the unprogrammed funds because until the funds are available,
Yes.
that appropriation is theoretical. So but you know, if you want to, there is that point, and may I appeal to Senator Rector that the matter be taken up in the bicameral conference committee report.
Yes,
if indeed.
I agree. I agree with the
If that-
with the Senate President. But just to put on record, and I will stop the interpolation, and I will vote accordingly, Mr. President. Just to let the body know, 2 items only, that today, 2015, even if we are underspending in the program fund today, because we're not hitting the expenditure targets, we're not spending the budget today in the program side. We are already also spending the unprogrammed today as we speak, and I have the data here. Meaning to say, nothing wrong with that, nothing illegal with that. All I'm saying is that the entire budget, whether it's program or unprogrammed, is actually an authority to spend.
That's correct. Yes.
There are separate trigger mechanisms only. Halimbawa, yung unprogram to spend this, either your taxes, your revenue surpass your target, or you have a borrowing. Okay? Then you can spend, that triggers you to spend the unprogram. In the program side, may triggers din yan. In fact, there was an amendment earlier mentioned. Bago pwedeng gastusin lump sums in the program fund, one amendment made earlier is another trigger mechanism that one, a list must be given to Congress, and there was an amendment to that a list must be given to COA. Just today.
Yeah.
So meaning to say, really the entire budget is given to the President authority to spend this amount, and that's 3 trillion. As I see it right now, the authority was reduced by 20 billion because we're saying that the 20 billion then program, kinakaltas natin. I'm not against that as well. I'm just informing the body that we can still authorize the President to spend 3 billion and put our own priorities. There's 20 billion more available. Sayang naman na yung sa scholarship, walang problema. Kung tanggalin natin sa program, baka pwede sa unprogram. Kung gusto nila. At least they have the flexibility if they want to. Kung ayaw nila, then they don't have to spend it.
Well, may I appeal
Yes.
to Senator
Yes.
Recto that we
As an example, yes.
yeah we are the views of Senator Recto is made of record, and that our Senate contingent to the
Yes.
bicameral conference committee accordingly consider this at the
Yes.
appropriate time
Yes.
in the bicameral conference.
Thank you very
committee.
much, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Recto. So, Senator Pimentel. Yes.
Can I object to some items, Mr. President?
Well,
Is that in order?
well, then we have to vote on each item if that is not accepted by the sponsor.
No, for example, Mr. President, in my personal opinion, the Office of the Vice President from 230,512,000 increased to 500 million. What if I feel that there is no justification for that, and I would like to object on that particular part of the motion? Is that allowed, Mr. President?
Well, certainly that's allowed. The chair is just saying that if there is an objection to your motion, and the chair of the committee will act on that, that ruling is appealable on the floor, and we will keep on voting on every amendment that will be proposed. That's if we want to do it that way, it can be done. But maybe if there are reservations on certain items, you can state on the record that your vote.
Can I object on one particular item, and that is the item I'm objecting to?
Right. Would you want the body to rule on that objection?
Yes, sir. I want it to be processed properly.
Okay,
Mr.
I have no
President.
problems with that. That's a process. I just hope that this process will not be followed on every item because that is the right of every senator. Yes, Senator Soto.
Just for the record, Mr. President, that was not a committee amendment. That was an amendment of the minority leader, which I accepted.
Which you have accepted.
Yes. Just to be fair and put on record. And we can vote on it. Yes, it's. And you know, the next vice president could come from this chamber. So we were being generous that 6 of our colleagues who are running for vice president could come from here. Could be your brother, could be this gentleman, could be your seatmate. Huh?
Yeah, okay.
Well, Mr. President, the alternative is that we vote on the bill, the House bill, and if Senator Pimentel feels that there is 1 or 2 items that he is not
He can-
comfortable with, he could state his vote for either he's voting against the bill or he's voting in favor of the bill with reservations on a particular
Yes.
provision.
Yes, please.
We can do that to simplify
All right.
matters.
So we do not have to vote on each item
Yes, please.
that is being posed.
I appreciate
No,
that, Senator Soto.
I heard the Senate President ask, is there any objection? So I have an objection. So how do we now proceed, Mr. President?
All right, if you're going to be technical about, I mean, yeah, okay, we can proceed, Senator Pimentel. No question about that. We can proceed as you wish. You can object to a
Yes, sir.
particular item, and we submit it as we do. We will ask the sponsor whether the sponsor accepts it, and if not, then
Increase.
you ask
Yung pag-increase.
for the wish of the House.
Mr. President,
Yes.
Mr. President,
May
may I-
request for
if I
suspension,
may-
Mr. President.
Can we have a 1-minute suspension?
okay na.
Madaling gawin. Ito eh, paliwanag mo. SUCs, oo.
Oh.
Finish Coco first.
Ready to resume, Mr. President.
Session is resumed. Senator Escudero.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, after conferring with Senator Pimentel and Senator Legarda, the parliamentary status is an omnibus motion was made to approve all of the committee amendments as read by Senator Legarda. Senator Pimentel manifested his intention to object to one particular item. That is therefore deemed as an objection to the omnibus motion. And in accordance with our procedure, Mr. President, we vote on the motion as objected to by Senator Pimentel.
All right.
May I therefore move that we dispose of the motion, Mr. President?
All right. The sponsor of the measure has moved that the amendments as proposed be approved. There is an objection, and therefore we vote and divide the House on the motion of the sponsor, Senator Legarda. Those who are in favor of the motion of Senator Legarda say aye.
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 Those against? Nay. The ayes have it. The motion of Senator Legarda is approved.
Mr. President, there are no more committee amendments, so I move to terminate the period of committee amendments.
So terminated.
Mr. President, I move to open the period of individual amendments.
Period for individual amendments in order. Is there any individual amendment? Yes, Senator Cayetano,
A minute suspension, Mr. President.
suspended for 1 minute. Yan ang pagkakama ko, in-integrate na lahat eh. Hindi, usapan na siguro yun. Ha? Oo.
Ready to resume, Mr. President.
Session is resumed.
Mr. President, may we recognize Senator Cayetano for individual amendments?
Senator Cayetano is recognized, and also the chairman of the Committee on Finance is recognized to accept the individual amendments.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, my amendment is fairly simple. It will just be a matter of reallocating existing funds within the SUCs and UP. What I am going to propose, Mr. President, is that we deduct 10 million each from the 113 SUCs, so that will be 1.13 billion.
All right,
And-
hold on.
Yes.
There is a motion that there will be an omnibus amendment to all the allocations to the budgets of the SUCs by reducing the individual budgets by 10 million each.
Yes.
All right, what does the sponsor say?
Yes, I accept. She could probably
I
just
can
read,
explain the whole thing, Mr.
because we already agreed on that on the.
But for the
yes,
record, you have no objection?
I have no objection, and I will accept.
All right, so there being no objection, approved. Now you have a balance of 1,300,000,000.
1,113 million.
1,113
million.
All right. So what is the amendment proposed?
Yes. Mr. President, my proposal is to allocate this now to the following SUCs that I will read into the record. For
Yes.
the record, this was agreed upon by the SUCs and CHED even before the budget season.
All right. Please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President. And my colleagues on the floor, especially Senator Recto, who had made the initial amendments. So I will begin. Philippine State College of Aeronautics, 20 million. Amang Rodriguez Institute of Science and Technology, 9 million. And 15 million also to Amang Rodriguez Institute of Science and Technology. Polytechnic University, 30 million. TUP, 15 million. This is for NCR, total 89 million. Region 1, Mariano Marcos State U, 10 million. And another 5 million also for Mariano Marcos State University. Don Mariano Marcos Memorial State University, 7 million, 7 million, and 20 million. Then Ilocos Sur Polytechnic State, 7,020,000. University of Northern Philippines, 9,939,000. North Luzon Philippine State College, 4,312,000 for a total of 70,271,000 for Region 1. Region 2, Nueva Vizcaya State University, 8,432,000. Batanes State College, 5 million. Cagayan State University, 22,126,000. Quirino State College, 5,566,000 for a total of 41,124,000 for Region 2. Region 3, Bataan Peninsula State University, 10,006,042. Tarlac College Agriculture, 10 million. Bulacan Agricultural State College, 20 million. Bulacan State University, 10 million. Philippine Merchant Marine Academy, 10 million. Ramon Magsaysay Technical, 10 million. For a total of 70,006,042 for Region 3. Region 4A, Batangas State U, 10 million, and another 10 million. Laguna State Polytechnic College, 2,800,000 and 9 million. And Cavite State University, 23 million for a total of 54,800,000 for Region 4A. Region 4B, Mindoro State College of Agriculture and Technology, 20 million. Palawan State University, 11,500,000 for a total of 31,500,000 for Region 4B. Region 5, Bicol University, 30 million. Sorsogon State College, 10 million and 9,500,000. Camarines Sur Polytechnic College, 10 million. Catanduanes State University, 10 million and 10 million. Camarines Norte State College, 12,500,000. Partido State University, 10 million for a total of 102 million. That's for Region 4B. Region 6, Aklan State University, 10 million. Region 7, Cebu Normal University, 15 million. Cebu Technological University, 15 million. And 5,400,000 and 5 million. Siquijor State, 10 million, for a total of 50,400,000 for Region 7. Region 8, Eastern Visayas State University, 15 million. Naval Institute of Technology, 7,733,000 for a total of 22,733,000. Region 9, Western Mindanao State U, 15 million. Zamboanga State College Marine Science and Technology, 4,763,000 for a total of 19,763,000. Region 10, Camiguin Polytechnic State College, 3 million and 6,480,000. Central Mindanao University, 11,500,000. Mindanao University of Science and Technology, 7,801,000 for a total of 28,781,000. Region 9, Davao Oriental State College of Science and Technology, 15 million and 10 million. Compostela Valley State College, 5 million for a total of 30 million. Region 12, Cotabato Foundation College of Science and Technology, 10 million. Sultan Kudarat State University, 7,234,000. University of Southern Mindanao, 10 million. Region 8, before that, the total is 27,234,000 for Region 12. Region 13, Caraga State University, 1,850,000. Surigao State College of Technology, 8,624,000. Surigao del Sur State University, 15 million for a total of 25,474,000. Cordillera Administrative Region, Abra State Institute of Science and Technology, 4,710,000 plus 10 million. Apayao State College, 8 million and 7 million. Ifugao State University, 4 million for a total of 33,710,000. Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao, Tawi-Tawi, 15 million for a total of 15 million in Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao. The total for the SUCs is 731,796,042. And to complete the balance, 398,203,958 for the University of the Philippines. I submit.
Any objection from the Chairman of the Committee on Finance? Or are the amendments accepted?
Mr. President, I accept the individual amendments.
The amendments are accepted. Any objection? Hearing none, approved.
Mr. President, I move that we close the period of individual amendments.
So closed.
Mr. President, I now move that we approve on second reading House Bill number 6132 under Committee Report number 294.
Any objection? Hearing none, approved.
Mr. President, House Bill number 6132 under Committee Report 294 is a certified measure pursuant to Article 6, Section 26 of the Constitution. I thus move that the Secretary read the certification from the President of the Philippines.
Please proceed.
Malacanang Palace, Manila, 1 October 2015. Honorable Franklin M. Drilon, President, Philippine Senate, Pasay City. Dear Senate President Drilon, pursuant to the provisions of Article 6, Section 26, subsection 2 of the 1987 Constitution, I hereby certify to the necessity of the immediate enactment of House Bill number 6132 entitled An Act appropriating funds for the operation of the government of the Republic of the Philippines from January 1 to December 31, 2016 and for other purposes in order to address the need to maintain continuous government operations following the end of the current fiscal year, to expedite the funding of various programs, projects, and activities for fiscal year 2016, and to ensure budgetary preparedness that will enable the government to effectively perform its constitutional mandate. Best regards, very truly yours, signed, Benigno S. Aquino III.
Mr. President, we're ready to vote on third reading. I move for a roll call vote.
The Secretary will conduct the roll call vote.
Honorable Senators Angara, Aquino, Binay, Cayetano Alan Peter Compañero S, Cayetano Pia S, Defensor Santiago, Ejercito, Enrile, Escudero, Estrada, Gingona, Hunasan, Lapid, Legarda, Marcos, Usmeña, Pimentel.
Yes, Mr. President, I vote no, and I will submit a written explanation of my vote at some later time. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Honorable Senator Poe, Recto, Revilla, Soto, Trillanes, Villar, Senate President Drilon.
14 affirmative votes, 1 negative votes, No abstention. House Bill number 6132 is approved on third reading.
Mr. President, the committee would like to submit the following names for the conferees for the BICAM meeting of House Bill 6132. For the majority, Senators Angara, Aquino, Gingona, Osmeña, Villar, Legarda, and Recto. And for the minority, Senator Soto and Senator Enrile.
So constituted.
Mr. President, before we adjourn, there's one last matter. We would like to call for a suspension so we can greet the Senate President on his birthday, which will be on Saturday. Move to suspend, Mr. President.
Against self-interest. Okay. Sige. Already.
Ready to resume, Mr. President? December 1.
Session is resumed.
Mr. President, I move that we adjourn the session until 3 p.m. in the afternoon of December 1, 2015.
Session is adjourned until December 1, 2015 at 3 o'clock in the afternoon.